If you have not seen the release trailer for Richter, go and see it right now. That was the first release trailer that I was actually terrified about a new upcoming hero, because his pulls are insane, his slow is insane, his silence is terrifying, and his ultimate is a playmaker. Here in today's meta, supports have much more options with the recent card rework, and Richter has received a little bit of a buff here now and then, making him a little bit more viable. In this build, guys, hopefully this takes care of everything that Richter has been lacking. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a hero building guide. I am Sylphin. We're taking a look at Richter's numbers, as we do with every single hero that we take a look at. So his basic attack is actually quite interesting, to say the least. It's a different power scaling from other fighters at 0.55, when some have 0.6, 0.7. So it's interesting. It's not the lowest, but it's certainly not the highest. His basic attack starts off actually pretty darn strong at 64.5. It's okay, but it increases 1.5 for level and has a speed of 1.35. So it's not 1.3. It's not It's not like 1.5 or 1.6. Really slow. So it's kind of quick, and increases a fair amount to end up actually being quite significant. It's really quite interesting. His basic attack is it's okay as a tank. It's actually really quite okay. Right click is his chain pull, and as you can see, the mana cost here is quite high in the early game, and the late game it gets to being relative to his mana pool not that bad, and the damage is actually fairly nothing to laugh at, especially here in the late game with 0.75 power scaling as well. If you choose to put power on Richter, actually goes a fairly long way. It's really quite interesting to see that with a 14-second cooldown. Not that bad, and we're gonna talk about his pull later on as well. His shock therapy is his buff to his basic attack that gives him a one-time damage boost of 75 damage with 0.25 power scaling. Not that much damage, but it's a silence and slow for 2 seconds, and that is really what you want. The mana cost isn't that much. Don't hesitate to use your shock therapy, as that slow is very impactful to help enemies die, or help your friendly teams to get away. So again, don't be afraid to use it because of that mana cost. And again, the cooldown does decrease fairly significantly as you level up, so it's really not that bad. Electrocute is his AoE attack, again, that does 0.4 power scaling. That's not the greatest, but it's not terrible like his Q. So again, the power can increase this. Okay, the damage is mediocre at best. Pretty much just not really that much. So it's just something to add on to just the fact that you can control people with Richter and let Electrocute kind of go. Just kind of go off and apply some damage. Kind of just helps him with a little bit of wave clear. Basically, that's about it. Mana cost really not that much, so you're not really hurt in the late game, mid to late game, by using that ability. And his ultimate 0.75 power scaling, pretty darn good. So this can hurt in the late game if you are putting power on him, and in the early game if you are putting power on him as well. Cooldown 75, so it's pretty darn quick. You can use it in almost every skirmish that you come across, as team fights being every minute and a half, 2 minutes, kind of stuff like that. It's not really going to be that bad. Mana cost again 75, not the most mana cost for an ultimate. So again, with him, his abilities are everything, and as you can see with the mana cost, using them appropriately, you can get away with quite a bit. Richter, he is a tank. So he's a support tank, really, with 1691 health. That is a highest of that heroes get. Health regen is up there. Mana is okay, with the mana regen being not caster. Obviously, attack speed, he does gain attack speed as he levels up 1.4, which is actually interesting. That is more than both Rampage and Sevarog, I do believe. Oh, it's the same as Sevarog, pardon me. So it's an okay amount that will just kind of help you, just kind of get some attacks off. Basic armor and ability armor, just like the other tanks here, 31 and 30. So guys, his mana costs aren't that much, but his pull, that is fairly significant at 110. You can't really spam it in the early game all that much, as it is fairly large amount. When we move on to the numbers behind making him tanky, I have to do a shout out to Board Pyro for this amazing math here that he put together nicely, and for the Google Docs that you just saw before, that was done by Narender. Two great people here that in the community that do great work. So here we go. He is a melee tank, so we can take a look here at this, at these numbers here. If you want equal damage reduction for both basic damage and ability damage that is coming in at you from the enemy team, you want a lot of health and just a wee bit of armor. Just a wee bit of armor. You need 18 health before one basic armor and one ability armor is actually worth it to increase your overall effective HP. So just keep that in mind. A whole ton of health, 15, 18 health before armor is actually starting to be effective in terms of increasing your effective health. Keep that in mind. And now, you know, you're probably around the 25 to 35 total points spent on defense. So anywhere around here, you need to include penetration. You need to include armor that accounts for penetration on top of this amount. So usually people get about 20, max out at about 20 basic pen, so that's about 3 CP's worth of basic armor. Casters can definitely get away with 30 points of ability pen, so unfortunately ability armor you do have to spend quite a bit to kind of negate that, and at 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, you have to spend about 6, 7 CP in order to, on top of this amount, to account for ability pen. So again, you know, 7 on top for ability armor and 3 on top for basic armor. You have to take into consideration penetration on top of these amounts in order to actually get this effective health, which is completely sound in the math department. So takeaway here, guys, a ton more health than I'm sure a lot of you realize you need before armor comes into effect. Here is the build, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm calling Piano Richter, simply because you get a ton of active cards that basically you have not only your abilities to deal with, but also all of these active cards. So your fingers are going crazy, just like a piano player. So we are definitely starting off here with the Centurion because you are a tank in the late game. You just need that health to sustain. Use those very important abilities that you have. So you start off the match with a circlet of health. You get your circlet of health in order to give allies that health regen aura that is very, very powerful. You get so much value out of this. That means that you can you can harass the enemy offlaner quite a bit and then regen that health. Definitely a must. And you know what? I've toyed with doing wards and stuff first, but this circle of health, you know, when stuff goes south, this pays off so much more than anything else. So you go into the circuit of health, then you go into your Lord's Ward as fast as possible. After the Lord's Ward, you go into this circlet of mana. What the circlet of mana does is really helps you get mana regen, obviously, and helps you use your abilities. You really need that mana regen in the early game. Richter's mana costs are tremendous, so this is going to help not only you, but also your carry. And anybody else around you, kind of use their abilities a little bit more, kind of press the advantage, make stuff happen, etc. etc. After your circlets and your ward, you can decide at this point to go into this Elder Mage Amulet. If you don't need to go into anything else here, if you don't absolutely need something, you can go into this Elder Mage Amulet. And I just realized that actually you don't go into this Lord's Ward. This Lord's Ward is your dummy ward. It used to be the ward, but this is the dummy ward you place at the beginning of the match, and then you recall to get your circlet of health. Then into your Guardian's Ward for some power and some health. typically you don't really need much. You don't really need much of these crazy active cards at that point. You just get your Guardian's Ward. Don't upgrade it. Go into the Circlet of Mana, and then you go back and upgrade this Guardian's Ward, and then you go into your Elder Mage Amulet for some health and some damage. Like we kind of showed in the stats behind Richter, he actually can deal a fair amount of damage. It will surprise the enemy when you get your full rotation off and control them for your carry to kind of deal with. He can add quite a bit. It's fairly substantial. It's definitely not to be trifled with. So this Elder Mage Amulet helps in that regard with giving some good health so you can stay alive and just use those more important abilities, but also the damage, which should not be trifled with. After this Elder Mage Amulet, usually you're going to go into this Teleblink. Pretty much going to go into this Teleblink. Now, along the way here, you need to pay attention to Quenching Scales. It's basically a better mana, it's a better Circlet of Mana that if you can get these 1 point lesser healths, you also get a team heal, which in the early game is tremendously powerful. So here in the early game, you can get this Quenching Scales if you need it, or even if you don't need it, because it is really, really powerful. For sure. Definitely consider getting this Quenching Scales. At any point here, you're kind of getting whatever you need. Circlet health into your Guardian's Ward, but you don't get the upgrades. You can get the Circlet of Mana, then you finish the upgrades, and then you might need that Quenching Scale active. So the next 4 CP, because this is 3 and this is 7, you go back and get rid of your Circlet of Mana, get your Quenching Scales. And then you go into Elder Mage Amulet, or you don't really need the Quenching Scales, go into Elder Mage Amulet. You kind of get the idea. You're kind of getting whatever you need when you need it. And that's kind of the really weird thing about supports right now, is that there's not really a clear build path. You just kind of get what you need because you're supposed to be serving your teammates, so you just kind of do that, right? So really weird way. You get the Teleblink whenever you really need that. But the Teleblink, all that it really does is, if you can see a gank coming and it's going to be disastrous, Teleblink out of there to help you get away. But, pardon me, a little tickle in my throat. The Teleblink is going to absolutely be amazing for you to Teleblink forward into a fantastic ultimate on somebody or onto the enemy team. Teleblink forward into a pull. It's a fantastic engage tool that totally sets up a lot of plays. It's amazing and terrifying to see on an enemy. Richter. Get that whenever you need it. And then you have some hard decisions to make. You can get this Chronomancer disc for 8 CP, which is going to be very, very powerful in reducing your cooldowns on your already very important abilities. Or you spend 8 CP and get this Barrier of Will, which is going to give you that team shield. Again, it's up to you to decide what your team needs and what you need to do for your team. That is kind of the next important... pardon me. Those are kind of the next important cards for you to get the Chronomancer disc and the Barrier of Will. Again, it's up to you kind of what you do and what you get. It's all up to you. After that, it's a little bit more clear. What you need to do is get as much health as possible before getting these Minor Guard upgrades and the Thermobond Barrier upgrades. So you're going to go into this Guardian's Ward by replacing the weak Guardian's Ward for this Guardian's Ward, getting this greater health, along with this Thermobond again whenever you need it, so that whenever you're hit by stuns, you're getting your max health back. But that max health is really going to help once you get more health, right? So after you get some health, you get this Thermobond, or it's in the later mid game. You kind of get the idea. The final build, ladies and gentlemen, is this Thermobond, Barrier of Will, Chronomancer disc, Teleblink, Quenching Scales, and this Guardian's Ward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. it's really quite interesting. You kind of get all of this health as much as possible before going into this guard. The guard's really not that big of a deal. It's not that much of it anyways, but definitely before you get this barrier, you have to get all of that health before you get it. Maybe this last greater health, you can go into the barrier first and then the greater health, but that's just going to help you really be as effectively tanky as possible at all points. This Chronomancer Death is going to be amazing for your cooldown reduction, so your ult, you can use it even more. You can pull people more, which is absolutely terrifying. The Barrier of Will, again, will help you keep your allies tanky with that unique passive. Thermal Bond, you're going to be hopefully absorbing a lot of hits, a lot of CC, and just see there's lots of CC anyways, so you'll be regenerating that health, which you gotta have a lot of anyways. So it's really nice. Looking forward to set up some engagements. People are going to focus you, which is good because you want them to focus you instead of your other damage dealing heroes with punching scales for that passive and that team heal. Ugh. Guys, it's really, really nice with the wards, of course. It's a really nice build that I really, really like. That's pretty terrifying, if you ask me. So, ladies and gentlemen, here in the early game, you get your Circle of Health to really help your carry. And as you can see, I am pressuring this Aurora away from her minions to try to keep her from getting that hero experience. Now, the first ability that you go with depends on who you are laning. And as you can see there, I land a wonderful pull there as we get a little bit of damage, and the Murdoch doesn't commit to that to secure the kill. That's okay. We can just pressure her. Now she has to play super duper careful. And I'm just waiting for the moment to use my pull here to make something happen. So for this Aurora, I'm going to get the pull so that I can secure. So I can secure the kills. We can certainly go for the Q, his silence ability, which is exactly what I get second. Why you could get that first is if you can see her committing that she's going to use her Hoarfrost, her ring. You can just pop your Q, silence her, and then make sure, and then that would kind of make sure that your carry can get away before she uses it, etc., etc. We have a fantastic gank here from the rest of the team, but I actually get out of here, believe it or not, as I turn around to silence somebody and slow them as we get a kill or two. I'm not sure if we actually end up getting that kill or not. Yes, we do, but I think they get 2 for 2 there. So, but anyways, you can see there. Look at this as I put the pull underneath the tower to secure the kill. We gotta look at that again because that was fantastic. As you can see, you can end somebody's life with a pull. As you know, Richter's pull is a delete button, guys. Once your team utilizes Richter's pull, your pull can lead to somebody's death, and it's a delete button. It's basically a delete button. As a fantastic kill there, as I secure the kill on that Seraph. Now, an important thing that you need to know in the early game in terms of his abilities is, as you can see, if you look down here, well, you can see it. I haven't unlocked his E, but I've upgraded his pull twice. And that's actually very important because when you upgrade your pull to level 2, it actually increases the range substantially. Here you can see that I do a fantastic job of kind of interrupting her from doing her thing too much. You know that when an Aurora commits to an engagement, she's going to use her Hoarfrost, her ultimate, etc. So I used my silence to silence her. But I mean, it definitely could have enabled my Murdoch to get away more, which he stayed in order to kind of 1v1 her, and he did get the kill anyway. So that's kind of just a little tip there. But as I was saying, you get his pull upgrade second. You upgrade it first before going for your E, just because your Electrocute basically does nothing. Now, in general, with Richter, you gotta play him really safe. I have my wards down, one on top of the little ledge, up by past the gold buff, and one down on the river, because he has no escape. He has no escape. Sure, he has the silence and the slow, but really doesn't end up saving his butt. You gotta play him very, very safe. You gotta know when to commit, and you gotta know when not to. In general, I'm like, yes, in the off lane, in that laning phase, I'm trying to be aggressive and harass the off laner. But from now on, I am playing it incredibly safe. I am going to try to either commit, go in, try to land that pull, do my thing, or just play it safe. Like, there's no kind of half-assing, right? There's no kind of, you're kind of up in the front line, and you're kind of not. You're kind of, you either commit to it or you don't, because Richter, he has no escapes, and you got to be very careful, which is why we kind of have that teleblink. Yes, if you see it coming, you can, if you realize they're out of position, you can teleblink back. Not really that much of a, words. There's not much of a penalty for doing that, but otherwise you just kind of play it safe. So here's an example of when I commit to something, relying on the Belica behind me here in this mid lane to try to do something. I missed my pull, which would have secured this kill much more than I already did. I silence her, slow her, Belica lands the stun, I get a couple hits off, and the Belica finishes her off. Had I actually landed that pull, that would have gone much better than it already did, because the enemy Belica didn't just choose to turn around and run away. But as you can see, that is something where I commit. Now, as you can see, I got no freaking mana left. Mana in the early game is hard. You got to land your abilities and make sure that when you commit, it's going to be worth something. It's going to be worth something. So there, I was communicating to my Belica, attack mid, attack mid, attack mid, attack mid, and then I go in, I do my stuff, and hopefully leads to a kill, which it did. And then I was an idiot, not playing it safe. I was, we were trying to push this mid lane with 3 of the enemy team dead, but not much happens, and I actually am able to stay alive. So here's kind of an example of me playing it safe and then committing to it. I had just gone in and missed my pull on the Belica, and as you see there, I was in behind. Now, at this point, yes, I am aggressive here and coming in, trying to hit some of the hit the tower, but I'm coming over here, staying behind the minion wave. I'm just gonna playing it safe. We have our wards here on one side. I did see the enemy team on the mini map, and that is why we went in to try to kill that tower. Now I'm trying to come over here to land something on the Seraph, as I do think I'm able to finish her off. I land the pull here, and there we go. I landed my ultimate, which we have definitely unlocked here now that we are level 7. His ultimate is pretty crazy. It's a large cone in front of you that stuns and roots the enemy for 2 full seconds. Apply some damage here. Apply some damage to the enemy once at the beginning of it and once at the end. And again, I missed my damn pull there, as I've missed a couple, but I've also landed actually a couple here that you haven't seen. His ultimate is pretty crazy. It does require some pretty good positioning on your part to pull off any significant use of it. As it's not that big of a cone, and it basically takes somebody else to group up the enemy first in order for you to land your ultimate on a majority enemy team. But it's still very powerful to add in as a combination. Here you see me committing. I was like, okay, now's the moment to commit to it. As I was like, I'll take this. I'll take this for the kill. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get out of there. I commit maybe a little bit too much there, but as you can see, commit or not. That's how a Richter is, and it is. Here we are chasing the enemy through their jungle, and you'll see me positioning carefully. I'm not committing to this too much. I'm staying behind here. I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Is this Murdoch here going to get caught out by a Sparrow and Muriel? I don't know. I'm going to turn around. I'm like, oh, hey, look at this Belica. I land a great pull to secure the kill. I use my Q to slow her down. I'm like, oh, and my friendlies aren't really bursting her down too much. I'm forced to use my ultimate to secure the kill, and luckily enough, the Sarah there does manage to take down the Muriel. I'm trying to body block for my Sarah there, but I kind of didn't really realize that. It doesn't matter because Sparrow's arrows pierce anyways, but I was just trying to do it out of habit to help my team. As you can see here, we're 4 manning here this tier 1. So there's a little showcase of the Richter combo. The Richter combo, a pull into a Q, which actually you can use your Q before you use your pull, kind of to delay the time between you actually activating your Q and using your basic attack. So you actually empower your basic attack with your Q, then pull somebody in. Once the pull is done, then you can silence and slow them. Really works well on a Gideon, for example, because he's just going to turn around, try to teleport right out of there. So you can use your Q into a pull. After they've pulled to you, then you hit them with the empowered basic attack so that they're silenced and slowed for 2 seconds, enabling you to get a good read on them for your ultimate. Boom, plant your ultimate down. There's another 2 seconds of both rooted and obviously stunned. The control is absolutely insane with Richter, and if you have the skill to use that pull to the utmost potential, I honestly think Richter is one of the most... He has the highest potential to influence the game, probably since like Yin. Probably like Yin, maybe, to like reflect a key stun at a key moment, something like that. But Richter, combine the teleblink here with a key teleblink forward to pick somebody off that's trying to retreat, or you have 2 teams kind of like just kind of not really wanting to engage, but then there's the Richter blink into a pull to get somebody out of position that leads to a pick. Like, I think he has the highest potential to influence the course of a match. So I want you guys to see this moment here. There is this Sparrow in this mid lane, and I'm all the way down at the river camp. Watch what she does. The moment she sees me, she turns around and runs. Why? Because I've shown my hand with this teleblink, and that is part of what Richter can bring. I've shown my hand here with the teleblink into a pull, and well, they're terrified, because even from that distance here, with a few steps in the right direction before she notices me into a teleblink into a pull, she's dead. Just that easy with the Belica here, able to again have more CC into some fantastic burst damage. It's terrifying. And that is what Richter can bring. Just sheer terror in his from his existence, really. And there is that unfortunately there is the 2-man ultimate there, as again the teleblink to get into position works wonderously. And I miss my pull once again. I miss my pull here, and there's the quenching scales going off to help my my Aurora there. And Undead Horde, by the way, fantastic player, has kicked my ass way too many times for me to admit. And again, there we are with the teleblink again into a pull to secure this. Oh no, I do miss that. Yeah, I do miss that. So again, I am fine with showing you here my misplays, because of all these pulls, imagine if I had landed those. Imagine if I had landed all of these pulls here. There is the teleblink into another kill on this Aurora. Just fantastic, man. Just fantastic. As you can see, the plays are ridiculous on this guy. And nothing would be more terrifying, if you ask me, than a Master Richter. So here's another showcase of the potential of Richter. I'm coming in on this mid lane. Yes, I'm all alone here. I thought the Belica was following me. We were talking about heading mid lane. There's the 3-person ultimate. I'm like, oh crap, I'm not anywhere nearby. But look at that, half health on those 3 heroes, and now my Serath goes in, and I'm like, okay, great. There is the blink into a mist, pull. I don't know, that looked like it was spot on, but it does lead to a kill. It does lead to a enemy having to retreat to come out of this fight, making this a 4v2 on the inhibitor that we do end up getting. And watch me position afterwards here to try to go forward. There's the blink into a pull, but unfortunately my team there doesn't necessarily follow up as quick as possible, as I am a bit I'm a bit aggressive there. Sparrow comes in and cleans house, but it's so much fun to play with Richter if you're on comms especially, and you're kind of calling the shots, you know, wait and just kind of like, okay, ability's up, I'm going in. Guys, the potential is nuts. There is the 4-person wipe. Leading from that aggression from me, the follow-up from my team, from me to kind of set stuff up. Oh my goodness. It is just insane. I love Richter, and there's so much to say about him. I mean, I'm kind of having a tough time here, as, you know, you can empower your Q before your pull to help with dealing with the kind of delay between activating your Q and then actually having to use your basic attack. There's, you know, there's so much into the teleblink, into the general tactics that you want to use with Richter. Hopefully I kind of covered that throughout the video. Richter's awesome. I think he is severely underestimated, severely underutilized. As guys, he's a this person's dead button. That pull is a this hero is dead button. Empower your Q into a pull, into a silence and slow for 2 seconds, into your ultimate. I don't know. Not sure what to say other than he's underutilized. He's underestimated, and hopefully this build here and this the few things that you did see here in this video kind of shows you the potential of Richter. And with comms, with more communication and teamwork, his value is just, it goes through the roof, and it's there. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. A little bit different of a hero building guide, because he's wonderful. I could talk about him for days. So hopefully that this all makes sense. Please like the video if you like it, dislike it, share with the community, guys, and please do, because Richter is just so good, and I just wish that he was respected maybe a little bit more. That's all. So, and of course, guys, if you enjoyed this or simply found it useful, please subscribe so I can do it for you in the future. Till next time, like always, stay optimistic and positive.